we have a massive piece of Star Wars movie news. So you guys know, ever since Star Wars Celebration in 2023, we've been talking about the upcoming Rey movie. There have been a slew of updates, tons of rumours. Is the movie going to happen? Is it going to come on time? Is it delayed? Is it cancelled? What is the situation? A couple of days ago, famous leaker Daniel Richman came out and said, after The Mandalorian and Grogu, it's James Mangold's movie going into production, before the Rey movie. Some are saying this is just an educated guess, likely based on some of the other reports we've seen in the last few months. But now Daisy herself has come out and said, not only is the Rey movie still going ahead, an update is coming very soon. In a Q&A with Collider.com, she wanted to put to bed any rumours saying the movie's not going to happen. Apparently it's all jibber jabber, it's all false, and very soon we're going to find out some more information. Are they going to reveal the title of the movie, or maybe a cast announcement? This is the movie Kathleen Kennedy is most invested in. So you might be wondering, Daisy's been saying very similar things for the last 2 years. So when is this very soon announcement? How imminent is it? Well guys, when you take a look at the calendar, Disney D23 in Brazil is just 2 weeks away. We're expecting another trailer for Skeleton Crew, and on November 9th, there's a 20th Century Studios, Lucasfilm, and Marvel joint panel. Could this be where they give us some film announcements, some new information, not just for The Mandalorian and Grogu, but for the Rey movie? Could that be where they confirm John Boyega's involvement? We have a lot of questions, and some of those could be answered as soon as November 9th. Like I've said previously though, I would be surprised if it's anything more than Skeleton Crew, but at this point, anything to get Star Wars fans excited. I'm not too sure the Rey movie is going to do that. Of course there are sequel fans out there, but it doesn't seem like this is the project that's really getting the fans talking. The Mandalorian and Grogu, definitely. Andor Season 2, the same. And in my opinion, James Mangold's movie seems like one of the most intriguing concepts. Going back to the Dawn of the Jedi, if the rumour of production starting in 2025 is true, then there is a chance we find out more about the story pretty soon. We also have no idea who's going to be in the darn thing. Who is the cast? What's the selling point? What's the aesthetic that Mangold is going for? Now returning to the new interview with Daisy Ridley, she was then asked if she's seen Andor. The interviewer was talking generally about the Star Wars franchise, and she surprisingly said no, although she has been recommended the series many times. She is familiar with some of the characters though, and while the story takes place in a very different, earlier point of the timeline to that of Rey, she says being part of the same franchise feels like family. Daisy, like so many actors in the galaxy far, far away, is a fan of Star Wars herself. So I hope she checks out the Tony Gilroy show and enjoys it, like so many of us have. She comes across to me as more of an original trilogy fan based on some of the comments she said in the past. So the themes of Andor in theory should be right up her alley. We'll return to Andor in just a moment. In other Star Wars news, out of nowhere, some amazing new concept art for Darth Plagueis the Wise has just dropped. It seems like Lucasfilm had more plans for the character before the cancellation of the Acolyte, and he was meant to be so much more than just a creepy peeping Sith watching Osha and Chimera from afar. On X.com, in a now deleted post, artist Sabi Menihai, who worked on projects like Rogue One, The Last of Us, and Infinity War, shared some concepts he made for the Leslie Headland show. In the photos we see a full-body version of Plagueis, probably our first in canon. Very similar to his Legends depiction. A badass lightsaber hilt with a scraggly, lanky body. We'll never know what they had planned for his character. The first season of The Acolyte really should have been about Plagueis, Chimera, and Soul. So much wasted potential. And finally, my dear friends, Diego Luna says Andor Season 2 is going to be worth the wait. This comes in 2025, one of the most anticipated Star Wars projects. And did you know the first season has witnessed one of the most tremendous growths in viewership after the fact, so there is a lot of hype. The first season of Andor is probably my favourite TV show on Disney+, and I repeatedly find myself discovering new things with every single rewatch. Small details, hidden Easter eggs. One super clever connection that most fans missed is a line of dialogue spoken by Yularen, and he says this: "The only question we need to answer is how tight to close our fist." His statement was aimed at the Imperial Security Bureau, the ISB, and its approach to maintaining order through force, oppression, and surveillance. Essentially, my dear friends, Yularen is saying that the Empire's power lies in how much control it can exert This is the epitome of what Nemik was talking about in his manifesto, in reference to the constant effort that tyranny requires. But something you might have missed is that this line is directly inspired by a Leia quote a few years later in A New Hope, and as we know, Andor is the prequel to Rogue One, which in itself is a direct prequel to the original Star Wars movie. The line spoken by the Princess of Alderaan is this: "The more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers." In other words, oppression breeds rebellion, and this is the antithesis of what Yularen was saying. He thinks the degree by which the Empire tightens its control on the galaxy is going to lead to order, but Leia's message is concise. The more the Empire tries to control the galaxy through force, the more resistance they will provoke. To this end, the tightening of the grip symbolizes the Empire's increasing authoritarian measures: military force, destruction of entire planets, surveillance, torture, in an effort to crush all dissent. That's what they tried to do after Aldhani. Their rigid tactics cause more systems to resist. In a way, that's what Ferrix was all about. If you look at Marva's speech, fans tend to focus on the second half of it, but it's really the first half of it that exposes where the Empire went wrong, because it didn't start as full authoritarianism, it built up, and in those early stages, there wasn't much rebellion. Why? Because most people didn't notice. She said this: "But I fear for you. We've been sleeping. We've had each other and Ferrix, our work, our days. We had each other and they left us alone. We kept the trade lane open and they left us alone. We took their money and ignored them. We kept their engine churning, and the moments they pulled away, we forgot them. Because we had each other. We had Ferrix. But we were sleeping. I've been sleeping, and I've been turning away from a truth I've not wanted to face. There is a darkness reaching like rust into everything around us. We let it grow, and now it's here." She's really emphasizing that at first, things were just business as usual. The Republic fell, the Empire rose. Of course there was oppression going on in the galaxy, but it wasn't until the Empire put its thumb down on smaller worlds that the everyday people woke up and realized something's going on. The tighter the grip, the more the people rebelled, because they valued something the Empire doesn't: freedom. And Marva is almost lamenting that she didn't see the signs. They were sleeping, turning a blind eye to a larger reality in smaller actions. The oppressive nature was always there, but it was only recently in the later stages it was creeping into their lives, even if they didn't feel its full weight at first. Her speech represents a self-awareness. She admits that she didn't want to face the truth. Even when the Empire first arrived and seemed distant, the citizens of Ferrix didn't want to accept their planet was no longer free. But the transformational aspect is fighting back. The awakening Marva has before her death is what urges her to tell the people of Ferrix to fight back. It's a wake-up call. Fight the Empire. But there's also something deeper about this, because Marva says, "We had each other. We had Ferrix." She reminisces about the days before the Empire, when she took walks down Fountain Square, touching the funerary stones, living and feeling Ferrix's history. The Empire didn't care for that kind of humanity. Notice the way those more mundane, everyday customs mattered so much more. They didn't care as much about trade, about the currency, about the politics. But when the fist began tightening harder and harder in its hubris, the Empire didn't realize it was providing the perfect conditions for rebellion to breed. That is the crux of Leia's point. But with that said, my dear friends, that is pretty much all of the latest Star Wars news we have in this video, and if you enjoyed this update, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, let's get to 140, 150 and even 200,000 subs, hit the bell for notifications, check me out on socials, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.